Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back for another slime video. And it is finally time to end the world tour for the Overlord team with the final Tempered Edge stage against Veldora. So this Veldora has a number of things going for him. One, he has 1.7 million HP, which is a lot. You cannot stun him. The team that's meant to be used here is the Light 3.0 team, which depends on stun, but also has a unit that removes the stun resistance, which makes it able to be stunned. The Overlord team has no such thing, so the Albedo Stun Strike, once again, will be useless for the stage. Also, he nerfs greens for a good portion of the fight, and then he heals himself by a decent amount of HP as well, so we have to ensure that we can do 1.7 million damage, or something very close to it, in a reasonable amount of time before he starts really buffing himself up with this crit rate and this dark attack, and he just annihilates us. So this is going to be a very rough fight. That's why I always leave this one as its own separate video, because this could take a little bit, right? The Idols got through it, Vengeance got through it because they're very defensive focused, right? It doesn't really matter if the greens are nerfed on the Idol team because you're invincible. So you can wait out those turns. The Vengeance team, same thing. Like, you want to get hit, so you want to take those hits. This team is all damage, and the one saving grace that could be used for it, and that's the stun, is unavailable. So we're going to have to get very incredibly lucky for this. So this is going to be the one World Tour video where I'm going to record gameplay and then voice it over, because I don't know how long this is going to take. This could take the first run, it could take me 3 hours, and I'm not going to try and repeat everything that I say for every single run for 3 hours straight. Sorry. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started, I guess. Okay, so few things. One, obviously, this is voiceover. We're going at a little bit faster speed than normal because this is like a 16-minute clip, and I'm gonna be straight up with you. We can't do it. This team cannot do it. The way that it's built to run goes like fundamentally against how this stage is meant to be played. And so you saw that the last video versus the Earth stage, which was high damage, and so you're supposed to have high defense. We died because we couldn't handle it. Like, our units could not live long enough to get to a reasonable nuking turn. That first run was totally scuffed, so we have to reset. But okay, so going through things again, right? Veldora has a 1.7 million HP, and our only type advantage unit is a free-to-play AoE unit. So that already is strike 1. Strike 2 is that he heals on turn 9, and then every 3 turns after that. So turn 9, turn 12, and you don't live past turn 12, essentially, to get to his third heal. So, and he heals for about 500,000 HP, which we will see in this clip. We will very clearly see. But again, going back to fundamentally against how our Overlord team is supposed to run, we are a green-focused team, and for 5 turns, this stage has nerfed greens. 5 turns is a significant amount of time for a team that's supposed to nuke on turn 8. So that's already not good. The second thing is, again, we only have one type advantage unit who's a free-to-play light unit. Okay, cool. So that's strike 1 and strike 2. Strike 3 is our primary damage dealer, Ainz, is giving the entire team crit. And Veldora, on turn 8, has 100% crit resistance, which means that if you use that crit buff, you are going to cut your damage down to like 10k. Like, it's actually 10,000 damage. And there's nothing you can do about it because he gives it to everybody. And his magic buff is tied to it. So it's not like you can activate the crit and then let it wear off and still somehow have the magic buff held on Ainz. Like, no, that's not how it works. They're both one-turn things. They both can be held in the back. So if you use it, swap him out, bring him back 4 turns later, he's still going to have that crit. Nobody else will have that crit, but he will. And if he's the primary nuker, then sucks to suck. So that's strike 3. And strike 4, actually, is the fact that Albedo has the stun. Awesome. But Veldora has the natural stun resistance. You are supposed to use a unit whose sole purpose is to remove that stun resistance from this stage, being Light Lumi. Because she has her 60% light buff and negates 100% worth of stun resistance. That's how the Light 3.0 team is supposed to run, is you negate his stun, and then you stun him, and then with your stacked up stun, strike, and pierce damage, you are able to do like millions of damage on him and actually take him out. Well, we can't stun him. We don't have Light Lumi on this team to do that. Who would we swap out? Right? So, going through it, who would we swap out for Light Lumi to actually even get access to that stun? Do we take out Nabe, our Orb Changer? No. Do we take out Shoutir, our primary alt buffer and defense lowerer? Which we know the defense skill isn't really that great, but the alt buff is important. We can't really take her out. Do we take Shizu out, who's our alt swapper, and our alt resistance down unit, and our weakness strike for, our poor little Nabe? I mean, not really. So that leaves the only unit that we actually can take out is Ainz, our actual DPS character. He is the only one that is not really contributing all that much to this team, because if you use his big skill, he nerfs your damage, essentially. But at the same time, you need his Despair skill. You need that extra 50% protection gauge on his Despair in order to, reliably cycle protection gauge, because we're nerfed for 5 turns, 80%. Ainz is 50, combined with my Charm, 40%, means that we have 90% protection gauge. So in reality, we're having a 10% buff to our protection gauge increase every single turn that we use Rimuru. That doesn't help us cycle very well, but it helps us, not have negative cycling, right? It gets rid of the debuff. But if you take him away, we're now not gonna get that anymore, which means we're not gonna get as many stacks of Rimuru, which means that our units are gonna be not as strong, and we'll get less stacks. And we're replacing him for Light Lumi, who is a blue orb changer, which has nothing to do with his team at all. So awesome. We're already on turn 8, right? This is turn 8. This is turn 9. He just healed, right? You saw that. All the damage we did to him is now negated. The greens are no longer nerfed. Awesome. We have 2 single target EX alts plus the Nabe alt. Great, but Shizu's almost dead, right? Shizu's almost dead. And we have done actually literally nothing to him because he healed it all back. And there is no way that we can do 1.7 million damage with this team without him healing or us trying to just negate. And now, on top of that, he's now stacking Dark Attack, and he's got like 50% chance to crit, which means that eventually we will die. And we do die. I let this entire run play out all the way to the end where we get the black screen. And we do everything. We're at, 13 stacks of Vengeance? Doesn't mean jack crap. Does not mean anything in the long grand scheme of things. So we're going to put 14 stacks of Despair on. Alright, cool. Nabe's going to come in for... who do we swap out? We're going to swap this out. We're going to take you out for Shizu, and then we're going to Orb Change, and we're going to send this hand of greens plus the ult, and, how much does Nabe do? No, there are no big-time buffs now, but still. This has been... We do 50k. He has 1.7 million when we do 50 with our only type advantage unit. And now he's continually buffing his attack. He's continually buffing his crit rate. He is healing. He's going to heal next turn. After this AoE hit, after he's, raised his attack and raised his crit rate. So this is the turn that we have to go all out, right? This is the turn where we have to make this count. Another stack of Despair. We use... it's... What are we going to do? Literally nothing. Okay, no, we don't go out next until the next turn. But still, Shoutir comes in. All right, cool. We'll get another stack to Despair on. We're now we're 3 stacks away from capping out Despair. 3 stacks, all right? We're going to use the Shoutir alt buff right now for funsy onesies because why not? We do 66k. Incredible. We pierced on that fit for 27k. It doesn't matter, though. Why? Because he healed for 300,000. It's now turn 12. And we've gone back to his health bar being untouched, essentially. Except for the little tiny bit that Despair took out. Like the 9k or something that it took out. So here... Okay. We can't crit. Which means we don't have the magic buff. A lot of our damage is focused on that crit. And a lot of our damage is focused on being against a light unit, which we are not against a light unit. So, fundamentally, the wrong team. Like, we could get around it in the Earth stage and the Fire stage. We won those stages eventually, after repeated attempts, but we were able to brute force our way through it. Why? Because they were not as strong. They had hundreds of thousands of HP, not almost 2 million HP, alright? This is when power creep really, really began, is when bosses started going over 1 million plus HP, and we needed teams that could do that type of stuff, so they had bigger and bigger, more impactful buffs. And might I remind you that this stage was built for a team that came out in New Year's of 2023, and the primary nuker had the same stun strike skill that Albedo does. And this is a whole year later, and is the same skill with the same percentage of buff on a collab team. And it doesn't mean anything because we cannot kill this stage. We cannot work inside this stage's requirements of being no crit, of being blues, of being a full light team, of being able to stun. We can't do it. So we lost Shizu. Or no, we lost we lost somebody. We lost Nabe. Sorry. We lost Nabe. He has 1.68 million HP. He has 200% crit resistance now. 200! So now, like, the idea of using crit is, like, 1,000,000% off the table. So we're going to buff with Shizu and Shoutir. We've got 20 stacks to Despair on. 93k from Shoutir. 343. 455. We do just over half his health bar. And then Ainz is dead. And then Shizu's dead. And then look at that. Turn 14. You know what happens on turn 15? He heals again. And we are down to 2 units. 2 AoE units at that. With, you know, a big time buff from Shoutir, great, but we do 178k with that EX ult. And now what happens? He heals for over 500,000. And now we're dead. Now we're dead. So, the Overlord team. I'm going to have to end this video on an L. And it's not from a lack of skill. It's not from a lack of trying. It's just a lack of this team being built for this. Which, you know, to be fair, it's not built for this stage. It's built for something different. And you know, that's fine and everything. But at the same time, it's like, the Idols can do this. Vengeance can do it. The Visions of Coleus team can do it. We've had a lot of teams come through between 2023 and 2024 that could clear the stage with maybe a few discrepancies. But for an entire meta team full of, 6 new units, right? Protector, and then 5 battle units. And we cannot even attempt to get him into red HP. It's not a great sign. And people will say I'm being too harsh, and people will say that if you think you're so good at it, then, you know, just go make your own game. But it's like, we have to look at it from the outside in, right? We want this team to be good. We want this team to be able to clear things, because as a newer player coming in, you want to be able to clear a number of stages. You want to be able to use this one team, because it's the only team you have access to, because you got really, really lucky in your tickets. And you have this team. You have the dupes, because, you know, minus this extra dupe in Shizu, free dupe, free dupe, Ainz has a free dupe. right? Your gear might not be as good, but still, the fact that this team cannot take on a stage that is a year old in any reasonable way is not great. You can take on Conquest. We proved that. That's not very hard. Crucible, not very hard. The current events that the meta is built for, yeah, obviously they're built for this. Like, this beatdown battle is stronger than that Tempered Edge stage, right? Just looking at the numbers, he has 2.6 million HP. Not 1.7, 2.6. And he nerfs blues. Great. Well, this team isn't a blue orb team. He, pierce resistance, synergy resistance. Okay. We're not critting, or we're not piercing or synergy with this Overlord team. Great. It's built for this stage. But for a team to be truly good, it has to work efficiently everywhere for me to actually give it like a top quality A ranking. There are ways other teams can get around this stage, right? There are other teams that can clear this. There are other teams that can clear Tempered Edge, Storm Dragon Unleashed EX5. The Overlord team is not one of them. It's not. And no amount of, single unit changing is really going to affect that, because at the end of the day, it's like you bring Lumi for the stun strike, it's only 40%, it doesn't really matter that much. You can't swap anyone else out because they're pretty important, unless you're going to completely change his team around and make like a light 3.0 team and happen to put Ainz on it because he's magic. Like, that's the only way. So, the World Tour is ending on a sour note, unfortunately. You're more than welcome to try and attempt this on your own time to prove me wrong. Have at it. Good luck. I wish you all the best. But I'm telling you right now, it's not going to work. Unless you really, really change this team out of what this whole point of the video is supposed to be, which is supposed to be Overlord specific. You might take out the Orb Changer for Sokka, or you might change out you for Blanc, and you might change out you for Jean, or Megamine, or something like that, or Violet, and you go away for Light Lumi, and then you have Ainz here, and then it's not even, you have one Overlord unit. That wasn't the point of this video. We could come back and I could do that, and it would be very easy. It could take all of 2 minutes. But I wanted this video to focus on the Overlord team, just like the past 3 videos have been focused on the Overlord team. And this Overlord team can't do it. So, let me know what you guys think. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I will see you all later.